Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranika, Gauranika, Jaya Gauranika. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parirajakacharya Shri Srimad Divine Grace AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Navacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Daudip Dham Ki Jai. Purushottam Kshetra Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. ISKCON Chicago New Seva Kunj Dham Ki Jai. Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Nithai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Shri Guru and Gauranga. The lotus feet of our Sri I bow down to those lotus feet who do not by His grace one can cross the ocean of suffering and जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यामुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यामुनातीरावनचारी यामुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, talks between Narada and King Prachina Barhi. Text 6. Sakhaya Indriya Gana Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam Sakhyastadvrittaya Pranaha Panchavrittir Yatho Ragaha. Sakhaya Indriya Gana Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam Sakhyastadvritaya Pranaha Panchavrittir Yatho Ragaha. Sakhaya Indriya Gana Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam Sakhyastadvritaya Prana Panchavrittir Yatho Ragaha. Thank you for changing it. It is Sakhaya. Sakha means friend. Sakhaya Indriya Gana Jnanam Karma Chayat Kritam Sakhyastadvritaya Prana Panchavrittir Yatho Ragaha. Ladies, please.
Jnanam karma
Sakhaya, the male friends. Indriya Ganaha, the senses. Jnanam, knowledge. Karma, activity. Cha, also. Yat Kritam, done by the senses. Sakhya, female friends. Tat, of the senses. Vrittaya, engagements. Prana, life air. Panchavritti, having 5 processes. Yatha, like. Uragaha, the serpent. Can someone turn down the volume, please? A little bit. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 5 working senses and the 5 senses that acquire knowledge are all male friends of Puranjani. The living entity is assisted by these senses in acquiring knowledge and engaging in activity. The engagements of the senses are known as girlfriends, and the serpent, which was described as having 5 heads, is the life air acting within the 5 circulatory processes. Purport. Krishna bahirmukha hana bhoga vancha kare nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare. This is from Prema Vivarta. Because of his desire to enjoy the material world, the living entity is dressed within the material gross and subtle bodies. Thus he is given a chance to enjoy the senses. The senses are therefore the instruments for enjoying the material world. Consequently, the senses have been described as friends. Sometimes, because of too much sinful activity, the living entity does not get a material gross body, but hovers on the subtle platform. This is called ghostly life. Because of his not possessing a gross body, he creates a great deal of trouble in his subtle body. Thus, the presence of a ghost is horrible for those who are living in a gross body. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, text number 10, Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudhananu pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. Quote, the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. End quote. The living entities are merged into the air of life, which acts in different ways for circulation. There is prana, apana, udana, vyana, and samana. And because the life air functions in this 5-fold way, it is compared to the 5-hooded serpent. The soul passes through the kundalini chakra like a serpent crawling on the ground. The life air is compared to uraga, the serpent. Panchavritti is the desire to satisfy the senses, attracted by 5 sense objects, namely form, taste, sound, smell, and touch. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nice to see you, Vladimir. Hare Krishna. So, the word Sakhaya means male friends. Indriya Gana. Like we say, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Bhakta Vrinda means the collection or the group. So like that, Indriya Gana, the word Gana means collectively or together. Indriya Gana means all the senses together are the male friends. And Sakhyas, the female friends, are Tadvritya, the engagements of this personality, Puranjana. And Panchavrittir Yathoraga. Uraga means snake. Ga means to walk. Uraga means walks on the dorsal side or using the dorsal side. Snakes, reptiles, crawling on the floor. Snake. So the picture that Narada Muni is explaining is there is Puranjana, there is Puranjani, and Puranjani had this 5-hooded serpent that was protecting her. And this 5-hooded serpent was followed by how many attendants? Pick a number. No, 11. So in this verse, 10 are being described. The next verse, the 11th one is being described. The 11 attendants are the mind and the 10 senses. In this verse, we're talking only of the 10 senses. The 11th is the mind, which will come in tomorrow's verse, or depending on what we decided, Monday's verse. So these 10 attendants are 5 or 10 male attendants, and they have 10 girlfriends. So the 10 senses are the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, the nose, the ears, tongue, eyes, and the skin. And the 5 working senses are the mouth, the 2 hands, the 2 legs, and the genitals and rectum. That's 6. But generally they call 5. The genitals, hands, legs, and mouth. By this we perform activities. So these 10 have girlfriends or female counterparts. That is the sense of touch, the sense of taste, sound, form, like that. So when the male comes in contact with the female, there is activity or there is enjoyment. So these senses, when they come in contact with the sense objects, there is pleasure, there is happiness, there is activity, there is vitality, there is everything coming from it. That's what the allegory is describing. And these 10 senses, the males, are activated by the 5-hooded serpent, the prana of life, or the prana, the 5 categories of airs. And these 5 categories of airs allow for these 10 senses to engage with their female counterparts. If any of these airs are affected, then a particular set of senses become weak. Like in a man, his vitality or virility depends upon what's his energy inside. If he's weak and sick, then even if a most beautiful woman is standing in front of him, he cannot enjoy with her. But if he is strong and feels really, feels a lot of vitality, then there is enjoyment. So these 5 airs that flow within the body provide for the vitality of the senses. And so the whole system of Ayurveda or good health, the reason people want good health, there's only one reason, right? So they can enjoy the senses, the fullest extent possible, the senses. That's the reason for good health. There's no other reason. Because if one has bad health, then a set of senses won't work. And when the senses don't work, their contact with the sense objects do not give pleasure. So this is being described by Narada Muni to King Parchina Barhi. Now, Prabhupada describes that the whole idea of enjoyment exists in the spiritual world and also exists in the material world. In the spiritual world, the happiness the living entity experiences is unconditional. Unconditional means it is not dependent on something else to be true for the soul's happiness to be manifest. In the material world, there is also happiness, but it is conditional. And so two different energies of Krishna oversee the living entity's happiness. In the spiritual realm, Krishna's pleasure potency oversees the living entity's happiness. However, from Prema Vivarta, we understand that the moment the living entity has the same desire for happiness, but is called Krishna Bahirmukha, meaning he has the aspiration to enjoy without Krishna in the picture. Then, Bhoga Vancha, when we say Vancha Kalpataru, we call the devotees Vancha Kalpatarus, meaning that they are desire-fulfilling trees. Vancha means desire. So when the living entity has Bhoga Vancha, a desire for enjoying Bhoga, that's basically for desire for enjoying, separate from Krishna, Bahirmukha. Then he says, Nikatastha, right next to Krishna, is Maya. Nikatastha, she's right there. Jhapatiya dhare. She grabs him immediately. So there's no time lag between Krishna, I don't want you. A few years pass by and then we meet Maya. It's not like that. The moment we say, Krishna, I don't want you, we are under the severe grasp of Maya. Jhapatiya dhare. Jhapatiya means she pounces on us and grabs us away. For most people, they pounce on Maya. They don't have to wait for Maya to pounce on her. They pounce away from Krishna towards Maya because she's very attractive. Although Krishna is all attractive, some people like that attractive feature of Krishna indirectly. They like Maya. Jhapatiya dhare. That problem, most people say, I'm attached, I'm being influenced by the material energy, the modes of nature are really bothering me. The solution is somewhere we have turned away from Krishna, Bahirmukha. So to let Maya go away, generally the so-called New Age spiritualists or even Mayavadis or yogis, they contend with Maya. They fight it out, they duke it out with Maya. They try to somehow keep Maya away. So their process is called Jnana Vairagya process. They develop the knowledge. This Bahirmukha tendency should change. We turn towards Krishna. When we turn towards Krishna, the influence of Maya is a natural, the vanishing or the mitigation of Maya's influence is a natural outcome. Maya does not pursue a soul who's looking towards Krishna. Maya pursues only a soul who's turned away from Krishna. So Prabhupada gives the example. When you're facing the sun, there is no darkness. But the moment you turn away from Krishna, what's the first thing that you see? Shadow. So Maya is shadow. So as soon as we turn away from Krishna, the first thing we see is shadow. Shadow happiness, shadow reality, shadow relationships, shadow everything. When the real source is who we have turned away from. And then within the shadow, we try to extract all the things that we had received from Krishna. It's conditional because from Maya, happiness comes at a price. That's the condition. Maya says, you want happiness? Sure. Here's the price you have to pay. What's that price? Well, we have given up Krishna. The price to enjoy within this material world is you have to take a body. Yeah, suffering. You have to take a body. And what Maya doesn't tell us, it's the fine print, like in the credit card application. It says no, I forget all those names. What's the fee is called? No. Annual something. My gosh, it's been such a long time. It says 1% finance charges on all transfers from another credit card. In the fine print will say, $75 for late payment. If you don't pay your credit card bill by such and such time, we'll slap on 25% interest rate. It's all in the fine print. But these are conditions. And so the living entity, for the sake of enjoying, the condition is already made as I don't want Krishna. For this, any happiness, if it comes, I'll take it. You need a body, sure, why not? And immediately accepts a body. Now once he's accepted a body, material energy works in a very particular way. That with every promise of happiness, there is a concomitant suffering attached to it. This is the difference between happiness in the material world and happiness in the spiritual world. Happiness in the spiritual world is absolute. Happiness in the material world is under the influence of duality. There is always a suffering attached to a happiness. Pick any example. Let's pick an example of smoking. Okay? Smoking, just the drag, the people have great pleasure in it. Attached to that is that one's lungs have to become completely charred. That's the price you have to pay for this happiness. It always comes with it. There is no cigarette that comes that says nothing will happen to your lungs. Or alcohol. Different varieties of drinks, beverages, whatever. This and this and this and the varieties of drinks depending upon the strength of alcohol in it. For some people, there is great pleasure in drinking it. There is a result attached to it. One has to give up one's liver. There is no alcoholic beverage that does not affect the liver. Every alcoholic beverage affects the liver. When the liver is affected, pretty much one's existence is affected. Or sexual indulgence. There is, for this happiness, either there is disease associated, there is guilt associated, we can even say children. That's a concomitant. People don't want this, they only want this. But it doesn't come like that. The package includes both. You either get deceased or you get children and a whole life of caring for them. Or if you don't want any of these, then you live with guilt or some other suffering, gross or subtle. Every happiness has the other side of it, suffering attached to it. And this is why people are frustrated in the material world. There is another aspect to the material happiness. Also, there is suffering attached, no doubt. The happiness that we also get in the material world, there is no promise of eternality. There's only promise of temporality. This happiness exists only for a very short period. And that's it. After that, the suffering is for a long time. That's the promise. Dukkhalayam. In Ashashvatam, sometimes people say, because it is Ashashvatam, even the dukkha is temporary. So the argument is, yeah, that's true. This dukkha is temporary, but the series of dukkha is eternal. Means one suffering after another, one suffering after another, even if they're short-lived. If someone were to give us a choice, what would you like? Strapped onto an electric chair with an electric current passing through it. You sit on that chair for the next 2 years. We'll make sure that no one dies. The person sitting on it, but they can feel the electric shock. Or we'll give you a jolt once every 2 minutes. What would you pick? Both are bad. But the material world, people think, oh, I have a gap of a minute between two electric shocks. That's happiness. So the promise of the material world is either this or this. Both are suffering. So here in this purport, Prabhupada quotes 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text number 10. Very nice verse. Utkramantam. Utkramantam means to leave one body and enter into another. Sthitam va. Or one who is situated in this body. Bhunjanam means enjoying. Enjoying while one is staying in this body. Bhunjanam va means or. Guna anvitam. Guna anvitam means being influenced by or being affected by the modes of nature. Vimudha na anupashyati. A person who is bewildered, who has no knowledge. Vimudha. There is mudha and then there is vimudha. Vimudha is a very glorified special category of fool. Means he's such an idiot that he cannot get it. Vimudha, Krishna says. Vimudha nanupashyati. Such persons cannot understand how the soul moves out of the body. They cannot understand how the soul is existing within this body and so-called enjoying within the body. They cannot understand sometimes the soul is enjoying, sometimes it's being influenced. Not sometimes, being always influenced by the modes of nature. Vimudha nanupashyanti. Pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. But whose eyes have been opened by knowledge, they can understand. This jnana chakshu is an important aspect of being a human being. Without having eyes opened by knowledge, one is in the human form but not a human being. One has not opened the treasure house of what it means to be a human being. So with this, he struggles. He struggles because he's in this dazed condition. Someone gives us a big, let's say, trunk full of cash and says, here, this is for you. You can do whatever you like with this money. Oh, there's only one thing. I haven't given you the key to opening it. I know I have the wealth, but I don't have the key to access that wealth. So just being in the human form is like having this wealth, tremendous wealth, but without jnana chakshu, without proper knowledge, I don't have the key to opening that wealth. So I carry that with me everywhere. Oh, I'm a very rich man. I'm a very rich man. Oh, can we spend money? No, I don't know how to open. This Jnana Chakshu comes only in contact with Parampara. Now, those who don't come in contact with Parampara also speak, also understand, oh, the Bhagavad Gita says, I am not this body. But that knowledge is different from Jnana Chakshu. Jnana Chakshu means one lives one's life according to that knowledge. He can see situations through the eyes of knowledge. Otherwise, here's what happens. One may have knowledge, and when a particular circumstance is right in front of them, or they are in that situation, they cannot access that knowledge. So they don't know how to deal with that situation. Yesterday I was reading Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, one of the most fascinating pieces is the fight between Karna and Arjuna. Because that's like the highlight. The two heroes are, it's a face-off between these two great heroes. And both are equally powerful. In fact, all the personalities on the heavenly planets come to see because they don't know who's going to win. The different personalities from the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Rakshasas, the Surya Dev, they all appear in this sky and they're all rooting for Karna. The Brahmanas, the Rishis, they all appear, the Devatas, and they're all rooting for Arjuna, including Indra. Because Indra and Surya have this little competition because Arjuna is Indra's son and Karna is Surya's son. And there's a whole description of how they're fighting. In that, Karna knows something. He knows that he is cursed. The curse is from Parashuram. You know that story? The whole problem of Karna's life is Karna, although the son of Kunti, that picture is the son of Kunti and Suryadev, she abandons him because he was born out of wedlock prior to her marriage. But he's born with a very special armor and earrings that are so powerful, potent, and brilliant that anyone can recognize, oh, this is not an ordinary person. But she abandons him and a carpenter finds this baby. And he nurtures this baby and becomes, they call him Sutaputra, means the son of a Shudra. But he's so powerful. He wants to learn from Parashuram the art of warfare. And Parashuram says, other than Brahmanas, I won't teach anything. I won't teach anyone who's not a Brahmana. So he disguises himself as a Brahmana boy and learns from Parashuram. One day Parashuram as guru has lunch and he wants to take rest. So he lies down with his head resting on Karna's lap. So he's fanning his guru and his guru is in this very nice restful mode. Indra comes in the form of a worm and he starts biting at Karna's thigh. So in the first, how much ever we are chanting japa, focused, a little mosquito, we are disturbed. But Karna was very stoic. So he tolerated it. So that worm started biting and biting is to make it even more severe. He went right into his flesh. So the wound was very deep. Yet Karna didn't flinch, even a little bit. Why? My guru's sleep should not be disturbed. So when Parashuram woke up, he saw this, little puddle of blood. And he said, what happened? So Karna said, well, there was this worm that was biting on my thigh and I didn't move because I didn't want to disturb your sleep. So immediately Parashuram said, you're not a Brahmana. You must be a Kshatriya. Because Brahmanas, although they're very tolerant, this kind of stoic nature is only in Kshatriyas. You have lied to me. You have lied to me that you are not a Brahmana. You have lied to me that you are a Brahmana. I curse you. That all the knowledge of Brahmastra, those very special weaponry that I've taught you, at the right moment, you will forget it. You will forget how to recall the Brahmastra. So Karna please forgive me. This was just for your comfort. Lord Parashurama says, no, you have lied. So when the fight is happening between Karna and Arjuna, the fight is so intense that Karna now remembers, I have to invoke the Brahmastra to kill Arjuna. And he has a very specific mantra that he has to remember. And at the right moment, he cannot recall that mantra. Prior to this, he has recalled it many times. But at that moment, he cannot recall. So our living entity is cursed like that. Like cursed in the sense that just jnana, theoretical knowledge, is not useful. Because at the right moment, in the middle of that circumstance, we do not remember those instructions. We remember it after we have gone through the circle. Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam. Why? I should have remembered this. We cannot remember. Because the mind gets so afflicted that the intelligence becomes weakened and really diminished. That all the good instruction that resides in the intelligent vanishes. Right? Krishna describes in the second chapter. Smriti Brahmsad Buddhinasha. Buddhinasha Pranashyati. One falls. One falls because one loses memory of his identity. One loses memory of all the good teachings. Here's another problem with theoretical knowledge only. Even if we remember the instruction in the middle of that circumstance, we cannot apply it. Or we find ourselves unable to apply that instruction. And that inability is because it's called weakness of heart. That the heart is not strong enough, the spiritual strength is not enough to overcome the pushing of the modes of material nature. So the living entity falls into same material activity again and again and again. When the armies of both sides, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they were massacring each other. The numbers that are quoted are just staggering. Dushasana has been killed by Bhima. Some other day I'll narrate the story, if you like, of how Bhima kills Dushasana in the middle of the battlefield. It's a very, very graphic, really, story. Literally all the Kauravas are dead. The only person still alive are Duryodhana, Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, Kripacharya. Yeah. And on the Pandava side, the 5 Pandavas, Krishna, Satyaki are alive. Of course, the warriors, few warriors are left. It's at this time that Ashwatthama comes to Duryodhana and says, I think you should give up this war. This is not going to work. Maybe you should make peace with the Pandavas and share the kingdom with Maharaj Yudhishthira. Because what you've seen is all your 99 brothers have been completely, killed like anything. Duryodhana says, I agree. I agree that peace would be the best solution right now. But I have a problem. I have a problem that I am not sure that Bhima will forgive me. I am not sure that Arjuna will forgive me. The Pandavas will forgive me for all the atrocities that I have subjected them to. I don't think Draupadi will forgive me. And he says, plus, walking right behind Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira will be the king, and walking right behind him is something that I cannot deal with. This is too much for me. It is, my Kshatriya ego will be really hurt. I cannot do it. I agree, peace is the best solution, but I just cannot do it. So I'm going to continue this war. Maybe I'll die, or I will kill Arjuna. But I cannot stop this war anymore. It's out of my hands. He says it out of his hands, but really not out of his hands. But he's saying that I don't have the strength, I don't have the humility to say, all right, I'll play second fiddle to Yudhishthira Maharaj. I will beg forgiveness from the Pandavas. He says, I don't think they will forgive me. I don't think Krishna will forgive me. So I'm going to fight this war. So despite good advice, despite agreeing that that's the good advice, the false ego steps right and says, no, keep going. It's too much. Can you imagine the humiliation? Everybody will say, Duryodhana, you've given in to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Oh, this is not okay. Oh, I cannot tolerate it. So this is not having Jnana Chakshu. This is the problem on the Kaurava side. Even if after being given thoroughly good advice, they just did not take it. Because they were attached. They are attached to certain principles. Duryodhana was not attached to any principle. Duryodhana was only attached to one principle. I should be king. But Karna is, supposedly a very intelligent person. Kunti Devi comes. Please, these are your brothers. Oh, you've come only because you want to save your 5 sons. But how can I give up the friendship of Duryodhana? When you abandoned me, he took care of me. He nurtured me as such a nice friend. How can I give up his friendship? So it's a false sense of loyalty. That's what Karna paid for. The false sense of loyalty made him fight on the side of irreligion. But it was his loyalty. The sense of loyalty made Bhishma, Drona all fight on the side of irreligion. Of course, there are deeper aspects to why Bhishma Dev was on the other side. But they all fought on the side of irreligion. When they all knew Duryodhana is wrong, they all knew that Duryodhana is going to lose this battle, they all knew that the entire Kaurava dynasty is going to be completely finished. Because Krishna is on the other side. And that's the biggest clue. Krishna's on the other side. But they didn't have the strength to say, no, this is not what I want. So this is how the 5 senses, or the 10 senses, when they come in contact with the sense objects, there is this immense pleasure. And that pleasure in this material world comes with its misery. Childbirth is so pleasurable for a mother, but the pain is called labor pain. It's so intense. So we come out with different ways to minimize or mitigate that pain. Epidurals and all sorts of things. But they have their effects. But childbirth. Every happiness has a serious misery attached to it. And this contact, I'll end with this. Prahlad Maharaj says, is like the rubbing of 2 hands. It's like the relieving of an itch when one rubs the 2 hands. Kanduya eva karayor eva dukkha dukkham. It's talking about sex life particularly. It says the fulfillment of sex desire is like the fulfillment of an itch, as if when one rubs the 2 hands. That's all it is. It's friction. Friction between skin and all the bodily fluids that are there along with that skin. And that gives, this is so fantastic. But it comes with bahu dukkha dukkham, bahu dukkha bhajam. And the conditioned living entity chooses or votes for this. And is bound in a body, one body to another body, one body to another body. So, any comments? I would add something, Jai Jagannath.
Today, and we know Mahabharata is part of what is called as the fifth Veda, but I think aside from Madhvacharya, we don't see many of the acharyas quoting so profusely from the Mahabharata. And I was wondering, is there like a authorized Mahabharata? I read Krishna Dharma's Mahabharata and it was nice, but I didn't feel satisfied because I just couldn't know for certain the Shastric depth. I mean, it was a summary, of course, and I guess I would feel more inspired if there were like verses. And so, do they have any such Mahabharata which the devotees would recommend?
No, there isn't. Prabhupada did not translate Mahabharata.
Did he have any opinion about that particularly?
No, but he would quote stories. He would narrate stories from Mahabharata because the Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam are very intertwined. In fact, the Bhagavad Purana is very much connected to the Mahabharata, except the Mahabharata's emphasis is on morality, ethics, friendship. The opposite of that is betrayal, greed. It focuses on those topics. The Bhagavatam looks the same circumstances, but with everything Krishna-centered. So Prabhupada talks about Duryodhana as a personality. Prabhupada talks about Arjuna. In fact, in the beginning, when Parikshit Maharaj was born, one of the blessings Kripacharya says is, when they're reading his birth chart, in this quality he will be like this, in the quality of religiosity he'll be like Lord Ramachandra, in charity he'll be like King Shibi, in valor he'll be like Arjuna. And then Prabhupada describes stories of two Arjunas, Kartivira Arjuna and this Arjuna. Like that, but really didn't.
Yeah, I was also wondering, just do devotees have, because I remember reading in Tattva Sundara that the Bhagavatam was an explanation of Mahabharata.
Correct.
It was considered like that. Do our devotees have any opinion about, like, well, the reason we don't translate the Mahabharata is because it's been interpolated over the years and it's contaminated, or
no, I don't know.
Is it just like a literature that just...
I don't know. One, I shouldn't say it because I don't know for sure. Let me say it this way. Our main basis of spiritual understanding is not Mahabharata. Our main basis of spiritual understanding is the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. That's our primary reference.
Hare Krishna. Simply put, I guess, how, Duryodhana was even able to see that Krishna is on the other side, but he didn't recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that was one problem. But how, in reality, can we distinguish like that Krishna is on one side? Because Duryodhana, we're reading the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, he's looking at his army and he says, look at all these people who are here. And Srila Prabhupada says his victory is very properly ascertained based on what he can see. So how do we, besides just saying by the mercy of the Lord, how can we ascertain where Krishna is placing his support?
Yeah. So, first of all, Duryodhana knew that Krishna is Vishnu. Karna knew. But it's the nature of attachment that obscures that knowledge. How do we know? In the Bhagavatam, 9th chapter, 1st canto, Bhishma Deva gives a clue. when he talks of Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. Ashraya. That the three principles by which when one guides one's life, one should understand that there is no cause for lamentation. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj was lamenting. Look at all this, killing that has happened on both sides. For what? For a kingdom. And that too, because I wanted to be king. So then Bhishma Deva says, there's no need for lamentation because you've always lived your life guided by dharma or according to theistic principles. Second is you've always lived those principles as guided by vipras or devotees. And you've done it for Achyuta. You've always done it for the pleasure of Krishna. Whatever you've done, even this fighting this battle, although internally you're not feeling right, but you've done it because Krishna has asked you to do it. So you know you're satisfied. So Krishna's mercy, yes, but it's in a practical way, is in context of today's verse, Jnana Chakshu is how do I move on the basis of Shastric teachings? If the Shastras give me indication of doing in this manner, I follow that. I follow that in consultation with the devotees, Guru. Then Krishna is on, or I am on Krishna's side, or Krishna is on my side. Now there are personalities that are very dharmic, Jayadratha, Shishupal. They used to give great charity. They did dharma. But Achyuta, the pleasure of Krishna was not the factor in it. So one can be very charitable, but not pleasing to Krishna. Someone else had their hands raised? Glenn?
Thank you for this class. What is underneath? I mean, when we're making a choice.
Just speak into it, please.
When we're making a choice.
Yeah, it's on.
When we're making a choice to serve Krishna or Maya, what's the paradigm underneath it? Like, is it an issue of pride or an issue of faith or love or?
They're all symptoms. Pride, they're all symptoms. Symptoms of a primordial disease. The primordial disease is given in this purport as Krishna Bahirmukha Bhogavancha Kare, that we have rejected Krishna. That's the root cause. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks of it in a little different language. Raga Dvesha or Ichha Dvesha Samuttena. That the living entity, because of that infinitesimal free will, makes a choice of enjoying separate from Krishna. And when he makes that choice, everything else is just a symptom of that. Pride, greed, lust, anger, everything comes. So Jiva Goswami describes that to figure out how the living entity can go back to Krishna, rather than analyze all the different pieces, understand the very initial root cause. The root cause is turning away from Krishna. You fix that, everything else falls in place. So it's a Krishna Bahirmukha, turning away from Krishna. Making choices without considering Krishna in the picture. Put it simply. Or in another language, this choice that I'm making, how is that going to affect my relationship with Krishna? Meaning, will I forget Krishna? The answer is yes, then we shouldn't engage in that. Someone else, Richard? Okay. Acharya Nishta Prabhu.
Question and comment. Which would you like first? Question or
Comment?
Comment was just hearing how the living entity foolishly is trying to take only the happiness side and reject the suffering. I was on Sankirtan. I saw someone with a shirt that said, "Make love, not babies." So this just shows the futility of the trying to get just the one side.
Exactly.
So similarly, one of the points that helps us seek not just the temporary pleasure but the higher goal is being able to follow instructions. And as you're indicating, the weakness of heart can sometimes be an impediment, and that for whatever reason we're unable to latch on or to grab that rope. I've heard Maharaj speak about that, but how does one overcome the weakness of heart?
Yeah. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the phrase Hridaya Daurbalyam. He says, Hridaya Daurbalyam Tyaktva Uttishta Parantapa. He says, give up this petty weakness of heart. So the heart is strengthened by application. So application means hearing and applying. Hearing and applying. This is how the heart gets strengthened. When we don't apply, then we are not hearing, because hearing means applying. For example, I've said this in the past. There is an electric wire. There's a warning sign attached to it. Please do not touch. So someone tells me, don't touch that one. I go and touch it. I've heard it, but I've not heard it. So hearing means applying. So as long as we don't apply, our heart is not strong. Heart strong means the conviction that when I choose Krishna, I'm giving up material happiness. And that's okay, because I'm really giving up the suffering. I want Krishna. I'm choosing Krishna. It may not look like I have to give up that real little piece of happiness. It's all right, I'm choosing Krishna. That conviction only can come when we apply ourselves to the teachings of Krishna consciousness. Okay, final question, will be done. Sunny, you had your hand raised. Same question. Wow, great minds.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. You are talking about Jnana and Vairagya. So, certain times we feel that we are trying to be a controller by using our Jnana and our Vairagya to control on different things.
So I didn't say that. But go ahead. Finish your question also.
So, how to transfer that thing into the totally depend on Krishna?
Okay. I did not say we're controlling things by Jnana and Vairagya. What I had said is that the influence of Maya, we try to respond to with either knowledge that says, whoa, this is not reality, or through Vairagya, that I'm not participating in this. The yogis and jnanis, they cultivate through Vedanta and through withdrawing their senses. How to? The answer is in the first canto, second chapter, verse 6. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. Sometimes the answers are so simplistic that we really doubt it. The answer is just perform steadily, sincerely. Let's perform our devotional service. Knowledge and detachment very quickly will come along. So the simple solution to all problems is go first fix sadhana. Fix the quality of chanting, fix the quality of hearing, fix the quality of associating. All problems will vanish. The natural tendency that we have, the conditioned tendencies, as soon as a problem comes, we go attack the problem. But that's like allopathic medicine. The problem is not in the symptom, the problem is in the disease. Back to Glenn's question. The disease is that we are disconnected from Krishna. You connect with Krishna, all problems vanish. If you like, in the fourth canto, there's a section on Dhruva Maharaja's story, right? So that section of Dhruva Maharaja's pastime, after he becomes a king, is when his brother Uttama is killed. And he becomes very angry at the Yakshas. And he charges to kill the 13,000 Yakshas. If you like, you read that verse or that section. That Manu and other rishis, they remind him of Krishna's holy name. And as soon as he connects with that holy name, all the magic and the mystic big things that the Yakshas created just vanishes. But he was raising his arrow to fire at them, when that's not the problem. The problem is he forgot Krishna, for example. Ishtagoshti. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Down, you have a letter? Okay, thank you.